Now, for those who hated Rigathi Gachagua because you were told he was tribal and you believed that, this analysis is for you. Now, in the interview between Rigathi Gachagua and Trevor Ombija in Ramogi TV that was conducted in Gachagua's residence in Wamunyoro, I have taken to do my analysis. I wasn't very fast with it, but I can tell you for free that Trevor Ombija and Juma had time, actually enough time to ask more questions, but they only lacked time to listen to Gachagua's responses, hence by making me judge this interview as biased. Before then, let us listen to some of the snippets from Rigathi Gachagua.
Kiangalia vyanzo vya sheria,
chama yetu ni ya kitaifa. We won a by-election in Kisa East in Quisero, that is Kakamega. We won a seat in Narok Township, that is Narok in Rift Valley. We won a seat in Kariobangi North, which is cosmopolitan. But every community has a political home. You know, the Luo Nation, their political home is ODM with other Kenyans. The mountain people, their political home is DCP with other Kenyans. The Kalenjin, their home is UDA with other Kenyans. So every community has a home politically, and that is the way it should be, and it must be that way. But I am saying, what ODM should do, my honest advice, because I can see it being destroyed, and I can see them along the way crying the way the mountain is crying. One, ODM is owed 12 billion through the political parties fund. If William Ruto is serious that he wants ODM to stand as a political party, John Badi is the CS National Treasury. They should reduce, ODM should demand 12 billion shillings owed to ODM to be released to ODM so that financially they are independent and they can chart their own course. Number two, the president has been to Nyanza and made many promises. He has one budget to go, 2026-2027 financial year. Before the elections and after, he made a lot of promises to the mountain people. Mau Mau roads, this, that. Nothing has been done for 4 years. What ODM must make as reducible minimum? All those projects he has announced, they must demand that money be reflected in this last budget. Because if there is no money in the last budget, if there is no money in the last budget, that is just a campaign gimmick.
Asante.
Listen, let me say a few things I want to say. That money should be reflected in the budget. And it should not be a token. If the project is 1 billion, you can't put 50 million in budget for the next financial year and say the project is funded. The money must be put in the budget. Number three, whatever relationship, whatever agreement that they want with William Ruto, let them learn from me. It must be made public. If they are being promised that they will be given the deputy president, it must be announced publicly. Whatever they are being promised, there should be a public pronouncement. Because the mistake I made, we did some things under the table in writing. Even Musalia, they did the same. All those things were not honored by William Ruto. And I can tell the people of ODM, things they are agreeing with him, they will not be honored unless he makes a public pronouncement. And they should demand early enough so that they have time to look elsewhere in case they are not satisfied with what they are agreeing with him. Number four, and the most important, to make sure that ODM stands. William Ruto had no footage in Nyanza. He had no footage in Coast. He had no footage in Northeastern. He had no footage in Western. If ODM enters in agreement with William Ruto, they must demand that those areas are zoned for ODM so that they have enough members of parliament to be able to go into government with. But if they open up their strongholds to William Ruto and UDA that has no presence in those areas, they will be swallowed. And that is what is happening. Once those things are done, then if they want to enter into a deal with him, they are safe. And I'm just sharing this because, you know, in my community they say, if you are beaten by a black snake, when you see a rope you run away. You know, a rope that looks like a snake. And I'm just saying, because I can see what is happening, I can see the same deception. The time he is spending in Nyanza, every day he is there, he spent more time, he was 9 years in the mountain. Nowadays he doesn't come. The same script. He was coming to the mountain, promising us goodies, promising us heaven, promising us all manner of things until we elected him.
Nice. Let me end it there. You see, this is a man who is even offering non-solicited advice to the ODM party because he was there. And he said, if you are bitten with a black snake, when you see grass, you should be able to feel that kind of phobia. Now, tell me, in this conversation that Gachagua has had, have you seen tribalism in it? When he was campaigning for William Samoei Ruto to be the president, didn't he know that he was a Kalenjin? Why didn't he go and support Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's candidate, who is a fellow Kikuyu man like him? Therefore, let us get to research before we get to believe about mouthing initiatives that are driven by the regime of the day simply because someone is not on the same realm of ideologies with them. 2, the projects that the president is commissioning in Nyanza. Gachagua says he camped in the mountain region for 9 years. Even after presidency, there are things that he commissioned that up to date have not met the light of the day. No, I'm telling you, commissioning a project is not equivalent of actually doing it. And Gachagua in the next piece is telling the Nyanza people, we need to see the commencement date of a project and the date of completion, which is not being done. But unfortunately, Trevor and the counterpart in this interview, like I said, have more times for questions than the time to listen to the responses of Rigathi Gachagua. Let us go ahead and get to listen to this.
Do you believe the SGR will be beneficial to the Western region?
Yes, that's a good question now. Now we are talking. SGR.
That's a question from
that's
same ones you're
now we are talking. Now we are talking. SGR is a very useful infrastructural intervention, not just for Nyanza but for Uganda. Yeah, and I think it can increase trade and movement of cargo between Kenya and Uganda. My only problem is that whether it's doable, because this promise has been there for the last 4 years and it's coming on the last year of the election. What I would want the ODM people to do, and the people of Nyanza, politely, is to ask that this contract be published with the date of commencement and the date of completion, so that we know it is not a con, which I think it is. I could be wrong. And because I have seen these con games, we were promised Mau Mau Road, barabara ya orofa ya kutoka Nairobi kwenda Thika. You know, I have been in this game before, and I know William Ruto and what he does in that direction here. What we are asking is for us to know that this project is real and it has been properly done. Because this company called CRBC has been used to con people. They went to Rironi Mau Summit Road and launched that road that was, we were told by William Ruto it will be ready by April. It has not started. And there's no contract.
When was the last time you were there?
No, I'm just saying, wait a minute, I tell you what's happening. There's no contract, so the contractors cannot start.
So there's no
What has happened,
nobody
they have been given some little money
from the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, to do what you call data works, just clearing and giving an impression that something is going on. For Rironi Mau Summit Road, I'm challenging the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure to publish the contract between the government of Kenya and the Chinese contractors, showing the date of commencement and the date of completion. That contract does not exist.
But as the work started, have you seen
there is no work that has
in
started.
the Rigathi Summit?
What has
started?
No work that I've told you what is being done is what you call data works.
Are you being factual?
No, listen.
Because
I've been there.
I was in Nakuru
the other day.
I was also there.
No, I'm just telling you what is
on that road.
I'm telling you what is going on is what you call data works.
The graders are there. Everything is
they're there. I've told you they are called data works, but there's no contract. So the actual construction of the road cannot start. So just the way I'm asking for the publication of the contract for Rigathi Summit Road, specifically showing the contractor, the amount, the scope, commencement date, and the date of completion. For SGR, I'm asking on behalf of the country and the beneficiaries and everybody else, because it's important and it's good for the country, we want the publication of the contract for the construction of the SGR, showing clearly the date of commencement and the date of completion.
Exactly. You might see same things with a person, but the reality behind what you are seeing is different. Yes, both of them have gone to Nakuru. They have seen that construction happening in Rigathi Summit. But now, Gachagua is saying these are daily works, while Trevor, without fact-finding, thinks that is the actual commencement of the project, without even knowing what was the date of commencement of the project and when is the completion date. Some education got to be done here, or do I say some learning? Well, in conclusion, I couldn't agree less with Rigathi Gachagua that Trevor has been biased. Listen to this.
Let's have your final comments because we ran out of time here. Just a minute.
Well, Trevor, you have been very biased in this show, which is very unprofessional. Because, anyway, let me not go into that. Let me say my closing remarks. I've heard these people talk about broad-based at the Luo Nyanza is in government because of 2 ministers. The Luo Nyanza had a vice president called Jaramogi, but he still agitated for justice and rights. They never became complacent because they had a vice president. The Luo nation has had a prime minister. Raila and the Luo people still stood for what is right and justice. The people of Nyanza cannot be bought by positions. During Moi's time, out of 18 MPs, 17 were ministers and assistant ministers. But the Luo nation still stood for what is true and right. I want to tell the Luo nation, you have 2 cabinet positions. Wadai is there for energy. More than 70% of the Luo nation has no electricity. It doesn't mean because Wadai is eating, the Luo nations are eating. We, the mountain, have 8 ministers, but we are opposed to William Ruto because he is doing the wrong things. And those 8 positions are for individual ministers and their families. So these 2 positions the Luo nation have are for those 2 families. It cannot be that the community now can become complacent. They cannot question what is wrong. They cannot question what is not going on well in the country. They cannot demand what is rightfully theirs and they pay taxes because they have 2 cabinet positions. The Luo nation has always had very senior positions, but it's a dignified community that has always stood for what is true and what is right. Okay. I'm asking the Luo nation, much as you have 2 cabinet positions, fight for your right, fight for what is just, and make sure that you position yourselves properly so that the interests of your community can be taken care of in the future.
Will you be visiting the Luo nation soon?
Yes, I will.
When?
Well, soon. I'm just working my things around. I hope Raymond Omolo will not.
Well, having watched these, where have you seen elements of tribalism in Rigathi Gachagua? If you say I'm playing the devil's advocate over here, well and good. Then give me your take in the comment section. And if you love content of this nature and watching from my YouTube channel, kindly subscribe and press the notification button so anytime that we are live or we upload content of this nature, you'll be the very first person to be notified. Ahmed Khalif is my name for the Unscripted Talks here in Dub Radio. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu.
Kwa timba kali za Afrika, Dub Radio ndio mpango mzima.